Everybody, welcome to the week 6 discussion board. So we're talking browsers. Okay, now do the simulation before you get into discussion. Okay, so if you're watching this video, it's first thing, go do the simulation first. It's going to be Safari, it's going to be Firefox, and it's going to be Chrome. And it's a simulation that kind of much like the one you did for OneDrive and for Outlook, similar kind of thing. It's going to walk you through some of the pros and cons, if you will, of those three primary browsers. Now, it's a good starting point, but it's not everything. If you are somebody who uses Microsoft Edge or another browser, please feel free to talk about that as well. In fact, I encourage you to do just that. I'm using Edge right now. I actually don't use any of those three major browsers. I use other browsers that I find just work a little better, maybe are a bit more secure, better with privacy. But feel free to bring those into the discussion. So the simulation, like I said, it's good, but it's not great. It's a good foundation, but it doesn't tell you everything you need to know about browsers. So Safari is Apple's browser. This is the one that you're going to have on your iPhone, on your MacBook, on your iPad. But it doesn't mean that that is the only one you can use if you're an Apple user. You can still install Firefox or Brave or Google onto your Apple product. Google Chrome is Google's browser, and it's the most popular browser in the world. It's a very good browser in terms of speed, in terms of security when it comes to malware or kind of viruses and things like that out there. It's not as good when it comes to privacy, though. There's been a lot of controversy pointed at Google because they basically do a lot of data collection on people who use it and then sell that for marketing purposes. And so privacy has been a big issue there. Firefox is pretty good when it comes to things like privacy. It's a not-for-profit. That just means that Mozilla, the organization that puts it out, its primary focus isn't making the profit. It does make a profit, though. Okay, so I don't want you to think that people are working for free there, whereas at Apple and at Google, somehow they're gouging you or something like that. All of these are free. They're all free products. Firefox has a lot of other things going for it, too. It's a speedy one. Some people like the not-for-profit status. And it also has something called open source software. Now, this is something that the simulation is not very good at. It paints a picture of open source software is just completely dangerous. That is not true, okay? So don't assume that if you use Firefox, you're in danger of having all of your information stolen. No, you're not, okay? It's a secure browser. But open source software is software where it's not owned, like copyrighted or patented or something like that, so that people can actually change the source code. But with something like Firefox, that only happens after it's been released. Okay, so after that release, um, if I'm a really techie person and I know what I'm doing, I can go in and kind of manipulate some of the source code. But that doesn't mean that that somehow changes how somebody on the other side of the planet uses Firefox. So it can still be seen as a pretty secure browser. Now, all three of these have a lot of pros. Some of them, they have cons as well, though. So your job is to really kind of analyze what you think is good and bad. Basically, you're saying, what do I look for in a browser? What is most important? Is it speed? Is it reliability? Is it security? Is it add-ons and extensions that I can kind of put into my browser to make browsing easier? Is it just the fact that this is all I've ever known and I don't really care? Just to let you know, if that's your response, I'm going to have some follow-up questions for you. But this is an opportunity for you to talk about why you prefer a certain browser and start learning from your classmates and what they have to say about their browsers of choice as well. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. And as always, keep an eye out for an additional extra credit thread. Hopefully this one will be just as interesting as past weeks. Thanks, folks.